Hello, students. Today we are going to study chapter 3 From Gathering to Growing Food. Have you ever wondered where our food comes from? The rice, wheat, vegetables, fruits, milk, and meat that were that we eat every day were not always produced by humans. Thousands of years ago, people did not know farming. They hunted animals and collected fruits from forests. Slowly, they discovered how plants grow and how animals can be tamed. This discovery completely changed human life. In this chapter, we will learn how humans changed from hunters and gatherers into farmers and herders, and how villages were formed for the first time. By the end of this chapter, you will understand how farming started, what domestication means, how humans changed their lifestyle, what important archaeological sites tell us, how tribes lived in ancient times. This chapter is very important because it explains one of the biggest changes in human history. Look at the different foods we eat every day. We get grains like rice and wheat from plants, milk from animals, fruits and vegetables comes from farms and gardens. But do all plants grow everywhere? The answer is no. Rice needs a lot of water, so it grows well in place where plenty of rainfall. Wheat needs less water. Barley can grow in dry regions. That is why people in different regions eat different foods. The climate and environment decide which crops can be grown in an area. Before farming was discovered, people lived a very different life. They hunted animals for meat. They gathered fruits, roots, nuts, and honey from forests. They moved from one place to another in search of food. This lifestyle is called the hunter gatherer lifestyle. The biggest problem was uncertainty. Sometimes food was available and sometimes it was not. People had no control over food production. How did farming begin? Humans were very intelligent observers. They noticed that seeds falling on the ground grew into new plants. They also noticed that plants grew better when protected from animals and birds. Gradually, they started protecting useful plants. They watered them and saved seeds for future use. Over time, people began growing crops intentionally. This was the beginning of farming. This discovery changed human history forever. Beginning of animal herding. People also observed animals. Some animals regularly came near human camps. The first animal that humans tamed was the dog. Dogs helped humans in hunting and protection. Later, people started keeping sheep, goats, cattle, and pigs. These animals provided milk, meat, wool, and other useful products. People protected and fed them. This practice became known as herding. Domestication. An important term in this chapter is domestication. Domestication means growing plants and looking after animals. Humans selected the best plants and animals. For example, plants that gave bigger grain, plants that were resistant to disease, animals that were gentle and easy to control. Over many generations, domesticated plants and animals became different from wild ones. This process is called domestication. Timeline of domestication. Domestication started around 12,000 years ago. Some of the earliest domesticated plants were wheat and barley. Some of the earliest domesticated animals were sheep and goats. This period marks the beginning of agriculture. It is considered one of the greatest revolutions in human history because it changed the way people lived. A new way of life. Before farming, People moved constantly. After farming, people had to stay in one place. Why? Because crops need time to grow. Farmers had to water plants, remove weeds, protect crops, and wait for the harvest. This led to permanent settlements. People started building homes and villages. Thus, farming gave rise to settled life. Storing food. Once crops were harvested, people faced another challenge. How could they store food safely? Some grain had to be saved for eating. Some grain had to be kept as seed for the next crop. People started making clay pots. They wove baskets. They also dug pits in the ground. Food storage became an important part of life. Animals as food banks. Animals were very valuable. They provided milk every day. They could also provide meat when needed. Wool and hides were useful too. In a way, animals acted like living food banks. Instead of storing meat, people could keep animals alive and use them whenever required. Evidence of early farmers. How do we know all these things happened thousands of years ago? Archaeologists provide the answer. They discover burnt grains, animal bones, tools, pottery. By studying these remains, archaeologists learn what people ate, what crops they grew, and which animals they raised. Important farming sites. Many important archaeological sites have been found in the Indian subcontinent. Mehrgarh, in present day Pakistan, is one of the oldest farming villages. Burzahom and Gufkaral are in Kashmir. Chirant is in Bihar. Halur and Payampalli are in Andhra Pradesh. These sites provide evidence of early farming and herding towards a settled life. Archaeologists found evidence of houses and huts. One famous site is Burzahom in Kashmir. People there built up pit houses. They, these houses were dug into the ground. Such houses helped protect people from cold weather. This shows that people had started adapting their homes to the environment. Neolithic tools. Neolithic means New Stone Age. People made improved tools. Unlike earlier rough tools, these tools were polished and sharper. Mortars and pestles were used for grinding grain. These tools made farming and food preparation easier. New inventions. Life became more advanced after farming. People began making pottery. They cooked grains such as rice and wheat. They learned weaving and started making cloth. Cotton cultivation also began. These inventions improved daily life significantly. Did change happen everywhere? The answer is no. Some people continued hunting and gathering. Others adopted farming slowly. Many groups combined hunting, herding, and farming. This transition took thousands of years. Tribal life. A tribe is a group of related families living together. Members of tribes worked together. They hunted, farmed, gathered food, fished, and herded animals. Tribal communities depended heavily on cooperation. Division of work in tribes. In tribal societies, work was shared. Women often prepared fields, sowed seeds, harvested crops, and processed grain. Men usually took large herds to grazing areas and protected the community. Both men and women made pots, baskets, and houses. Everyone contributed to community life. Tribal society. One unique feature of tribal society was sharing. Land, forests, grasslands, and water belonged to the whole tribe. People used these resources together. There was little difference between rich and poor. Community cooperation was highly valued. Mehrgarh, the first village. Mehrgarh is one of the most important archaeological sites. It is located in present-day Pakistan near the Bolan Pass. People here grew wheat and barley. They also reared sheep and goats. Mehrgarh is considered one of the earliest known farming village. Houses and burials at Mehrgarh. Archaeologists found rectangular houses with storage rooms. This shows people stored grain and supplies. Several burial sites were also discovered. In one burial, goats were buried along with a person. This suggests people believed in some form of life after death. Daojali Hading. Daojali Hading is located near the Brahmaputra Valley. Archaeologists found stone tools, pottery, mortars, and pestles. They also found jadeite, a valuable stone that likely came from China. This suggests early trade connections between regions. Elsewhere in the world, farming was not limited to India. One famous Neolithic settlement was Kettle Hugh in Turkey. People there obtained material from distant places. This shows that trade and exchange networks existed even thousands of years ago. Some important dates. Remember these important dates. Domestications began about 12,000 years ago. Settlement at Mehrgarh began about 8,000 years ago. These dates are frequently asked in examinations. Let's revise quickly. Farming started from observing seeds. Dog was the first domesticated animal. Sheep and goats were among the earliest domesticated animals. People stored grain in pots and pits. Farming led to the permanent settlements. Mehrgarh was one of the earliest villages. Neolithic tools were polished stone tools. Today, we learned how humans moved from gathering food to producing food. We saw how farming, animal domestication, storage, settlements, and villages developed. This discovery transformed human civilization and laid the foundation of the modern world. Thank you. Keep learning and stay curious.